Hi, I'm Congressman Mike Quigley. It has been an honor to serve Illinois' 5th District for another year here in Congress. The past few weeks have been tough for many in our district. I know I'm not alone in concerns about the future. Yet I also know that we cannot despair. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. My dedication to serving you remains unwavering. As we approach the new year, I want to reflect on our achievements in 2024 and share my vision for what lies ahead. In March, I was proud to secure over $12.5 million in funding for projects across our district, from renovating Metro's Edgebrook Station and making essential repairs at Shield and Pulaski Parks, to constructing a pedestrian bridge in Mount Prospect and beyond. This funding will have a real impact across our communities. I've had a chance to visit many of these project sites from this year and years past to see this funding coming to life. I've been working to secure an additional $31 million for local projects and will keep fighting to see this funding signed into law.
What projects did you bring home, will you be bringing home for the 5th District?
You look, there's probably $20 million in targeted funding for everything from park districts, police, Chicago public schools, housing. It's just the beginning. And obviously, you have to care more than just your district. Regionally, the train station downtown, Union Station, real critical to the whole Midwest. We got a $90 million grant and $40 million more in the spending bill to help it become a focal point and dramatically improve its ability to function.
Give us a taste of what could be coming down the pipeline here.
Sure. I mean, look, we're all too well of the tragedy of our first responders and the losses we had just last year. So we're bringing in 2,000 bulletproof vests for our police department who have to pay for their replacements. We're bringing in breathing equipment for the fire department. We're helping with the Brown Line and renovating a station. Urban flooding in Graceland West and out in the suburbs, everything from the noise mitigation to grade separation, wastewater treatment and lead service line replacement.
In 2024, my team continued to deliver outstanding constituent services. In fact, we recovered over $755,000 directly for constituents, closed more than 1,843 cases, and attended nearly 85 community meetings. I hosted 2 senior fairs, a veterans fair, and just last month, a Medicare enrollment seminar. These events offer a chance to meet face-to-face with members of our community. I can hear their concerns firsthand and take their suggestions back with me to Washington. Millions of Chicagoans and Illinoisans rely on public transit being efficient, safe, and reliable. In Congress, I've been advocating for these priorities as ranking member of the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Subcommittee. This past year, we secured a record funding amount for transit priorities right here in Illinois. We brought home over $900 million for transportation in and around Chicago. That funding includes over $700 million for the CTA Red Line extension, $40 million for the Union Station, $200 million for the CREATE project, and so much more. The national importance of our transportation infrastructure was on full display this March when the Baltimore Key Bridge collapsed. The collapse caused massive strains on the regional economy, supply chains, and daily commutes. I traveled to the site of the collapse with other members of my subcommittee and met with Maryland Governor Wes Moore. We learned that we must take preemptive action to repair damaged bridges and roads that could lead to our next disaster. The bipartisan infrastructure bill took critical steps to address this need, and Congress must now work to fill any remaining gaps. At a time when too many people in America don't have a place to call home, it's clear that our nation's housing needs more investment, not less. During this year's appropriations process, I fought to bolster our nation's housing programs. On a local level, I submitted a funding request for the City of Chicago to that Department of Housing to help them renovate Bel-Ray apartments. This funding will allow Bel-Ray to not only preserve existing affordable housing, but also to increase their capacity to support individuals experiencing or at risk of homelessness. This year, the fight to protect reproductive freedom took center stage. Millions of Americans have suffered the consequences of Trump's dangerous reversal of Roe versus Wade. Women have died after being denied life-saving care in states with abortion restrictions. We have a responsibility to protect women and their right to decide when and how to start a family. I was proud to sign a discharge petition to force a vote on the Right to IVF Act and the Right to Contraception Act. I will continue working to advance legislation to restore Roe and urge my colleagues across the aisle to do what is right for the women in their districts. Another issue close to my heart is the fight against ALS. Back in 2021, I was proud to lead the passage of the Act for ALS to help people living with this disease access treatments. In May, I hosted a panel of experts to discuss the state of ALS research since Act for ALS became law. Climate change is one of the greatest threats facing our world. We must continue to listen and learn about the changes we are seeing and the steps we can take to save our planet. That's why I've continued to visit our national parks to see firsthand how climate change impacts their ecosystems. In August, I invited 5 members of Congress to travel to Olympic National Park, where we learned about melting glaciers, coastal erosion, and ocean warming. Congress must address climate change and ensure Olympic and all our national parks continue to thrive amidst this threat. It's been 1,000 days since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As co-chair of the Ukraine caucus, I continue to lead my colleagues in the push for additional assistance. This year, I helped pass a supplemental funding package for Ukraine's defense, honored American soldiers who put their lives on the line for Ukraine, and hosted 3 Gold Star mothers of soldiers who fought and died for Ukraine. Their heroism will never be forgotten, and their sacrifice must not be in vain. This November, I also visited Ukraine to meet with officials on the ground for fighting for their freedom. We must keep working to provide Ukraine with the tools necessary to win this war. Failure is not an option. Handing Ukraine over to Putin is not an option. We must help them win and help save democracy across Eastern Europe. This year, we also recognize 1 year since the greatest assault on the Jewish people in Israel's history. My thoughts are with the hostages still being held captive by Hamas. We must bring them home. While I continue to support Israel's right to self-defense, we must also advocate for innocent Gazans who are facing starvation. A 2-state solution remains the only tenable diplomatic solution to this crisis. While we have achieved so much this past year, our work has just begun. No matter what 2025 has in store, I will never compromise my convictions when it comes to protecting your fundamental rights, keeping our children safe, lowering costs, and safeguarding democracy. As always, I'm honored to serve you in Congress and will keep fighting for you and for our country.